I have mine. I didn't send them to you.
So here's my question.
Yes.
Okay. When you got your test corrections back, number one, were you surprised at how many you had to correct? And number two, were you pleased with your grade? Were you satisfied with it? You don't have to answer out loud, okay? I'm wanting you to think about these things.
I was never my grade.
Okay, so I need everybody listening. If you have looked at your grade, remember there are a few things that are going to be coming in that I'm going to be grading. So we're going to have our packets that have some bonus in there that I will be grading that will help you grade, okay? But one of the things I want to tell you right now is at this point, the grades are not at all where I would like them to be, and I'm sure they might not be where you want them to be. Now, I know that I'm not talking to everybody, okay? There are some of you that are doing very well in here, okay? So I'm not talking to you. If you've got an A in here, you can kind of tune me out right now. If you don't have an A in here, I need you listening, okay? Because number one, I'm spending a lot of time trying to redirect attention. I'm spending a lot of time with people that are just not paying attention to me. And if you're not listening to me, I can guarantee you're not going home and teaching yourself this material, okay? If you're not listening to me, you're probably not getting it, which means you're not going to get it on homework and you're not going to get it on a test. So what I'm going to be doing are going to be changing some ways that we're doing homework in an effort to have you taking more ownership of your homework. So basically, I've been talking with Miss Steph on how she handles assignments. Okay. And so basically, when you look at going to Algebra 2, okay, so probably next year you'll take geometry, then you go into Algebra 2. If you've already been using this format, if you have me for geometry, I'm changing to this format right now in my geometry. So that means if you have me for geometry, you're going to be doing the same thing, then you'll do the same thing for Algebra 2, and you're already in the habit of it, okay? So what we're going to start doing is you will do your homework and I will be sending the homework answers, okay? Now, I will not be sending the process on how to get the answers. I will just be sending the answers. So you will do the homework on a new sheet of paper, okay? You will have a piece of paper that you will put your name on, you'll write the page number on, you'll write the problem on, and you will show your work, okay? So then, but that means we're going to have to kind of come up with a plan on how to, since our book is not numbered, then basically we're going to be kind of looking at how we can number things, and we'll work through that, because that's the bad part about doing this, trying to do this with this book, is they don't number every item. They just give us pages and section numbers. So we're going to work through that. We'll make sure that everybody is on the same page as to what number is what problem and everything like that. So here you will do the homework. I will send you the answers and you will check your homework. If you miss it, you do not erase it and fix it on the original piece of paper. You get a brand new sheet of paper to do corrections on, just like you do your test corrections. So when you check your homework, you'll have your list of answers you'll check, and if you miss it, you'll either exit, circle it, put a slash through it, you'll do something, so when you give it to me, I can look and go, oh, look, they missed that one and they fixed it here. They missed that one, they fixed it here. And then you will go back and rework the problem on your corrections page. That way, you're not waiting on me to send back the homework assignments graded. And also, right now, if I'm getting a homework assignment and you've missed the whole entire page, you've made an F on that homework assignment, which is killing your grade. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to kill your grade. I want you to learn. So by changing to this process, number one, you've heard the material in class. We've practiced it together. Then the next step is you do your independent work. And so as you do that, then you look at it and you see what you got right or what you missed. If you missed it, then you go back to the lesson in the textbook, look at what we did as examples, look at those steps, and you try to figure out how to redo that problem, okay? So you've listened in class and we practiced. You do your first round of homework and you score it. Then you see what you have missed. That way you know what you're struggling with. You're not waiting on me to come back and go, nope, you missed it. You're able to figure it out on your own, and that is a huge part of learning. Then you're going back to figure out how to do it, okay? Then if you go, I missed it the first time, I've got the answer, I know what the answer is, but I'm still not getting that same answer, my answer's not matching up. That's when you come to me and go, hey, I can't get this problem, I need help. Or in class, we go over it, and that's when you say, hey, I have this. You will not actually turn in your work until we are back in class. So that way you're actually handing in pages, you're not having the stress of uploading and trying to deal with that. That has been more of a hassle than I even want to deal with anymore, okay? So I know it's a hassle for you, and if it's a hassle for you, it's a hassle for me, okay? And so that's not the goal here. I feel like we're getting so bogged down by the back and forth and the uploading and the this and the that, and what's suffering is you learning. And that, I want to fix that, because right now I've got probably 7 or 8 parents that have come to me and said, hey, we need some one-on-one time. And quite frankly, there's not time in a week for me to do this and meet with 7 or 8 kids outside of this and try to get everybody back on track, okay? So we've got to do something to fix this. So this is what I want to try to do to fix it, because not only is it going to be something that I think will help you now, it's going to help you in the future, because you're going to be doing the same format for, you know, hopefully a couple of years to come as you're doing other math classes. And then that way it gets you more in charge of your own learning. Not going, well, I missed it, I don't know what to do, and you just move on. Well, as you move on in other math classes, what we're doing now is going to affect you in algebra. What you do in algebra will affect you in geometry, okay? And it'll keep on going from there. So this is kind of our foundation right here. And so if we try to build a house and we're missing some bricks as we're building that house, then eventually all the weight that's coming down from the others is going to cause it to fall. And I don't want you to fall when you're in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and beyond that point, okay? I don't want you to struggle with that. I'm so glad you came to class. Please do come in. Oh, look, where have y'all been? Y'all have totally missed my whole thing about our new way of doing homework. So this whole thing, all right, here's a chair over here that y'all can pull around. I'll get you guys to kind of shift down a little bit, and we can put a chair on the end. All right, Zoe. Swoosh down. Okay, so we were just talking about taking personal responsibility for our learning. Okay, so the other thing is I have parents emailing me going, why is my kid's grade so bad? And one of the things I don't want to have to say is because your child is not listening to me in class. So if I have to, like I've got several parents going, I don't, you know, they're just not getting it. Well, probably because they're not listening to me. And I'm having to redirect attention, which if I'm having to redirect attention for some people, then everybody else is interrupted as well. And so I'm not okay with that. All right. So we're going to change the way we do the homework. You're going to do it on a separate sheet of paper, write the problem, show your work. It will not be due until the time we come back to class. If you miss something, you make a correction. If you miss something, you identify it on that original work. You don't erase it and correct it. You get a new correction sheet to make your corrections on. So that way, when you turn everything in, you've got a packet of work and corrections all identified with your name on it, the lesson number, and then the problems that we go ahead and number our problems on the page, okay? So thinking about for right now, all right, we have got next week we are virtual, then the next week we have fall break, and then we will be back in class the next week, okay? So assignments will be due in class that week we return. Now, that is starting at this point with assignments that are given from today. Packets, extra credit, all that stuff, I have to have uploaded because I've got to finalize grades by the end of next week. If you don't send me your extra credit, I'm not counting it. If I don't have it by Monday, I'm not counting it because I've got to get it graded and get grades done by the end of next week. And so the extra credit is pertaining to the assignments that we've done this semester. So those grades need to go for this semester, okay? So the extra credit work that's due on Monday does need to be uploaded. I need your test corrections. If you have not emailed me, texted me, handed me a piece of paper with test corrections, I have to have those by Monday. Anything I don't have by Monday is not being counted and will be as a 0. So if I send you an email this weekend saying I'm missing this and you don't have it to me by Monday, I will not remind you. Okay? I'm not going to chase you guys down for homework anymore. Zoe.
So what's the extra credit?
Remember in the packet, I told you these are your assignment problems and then these are bonus. That's what I'm talking
So you
about.
want the bonus on Monday and the assignment on Thursday?
No, the packet that you have. Okay? Remember, the packet is due Monday, right?
Okay.
The packet is due Monday, and in that same packet, some of it's been assigned and some of it is bonus. So if you want that bonus to count and you don't want a 0 on that assignment, I got to have it Monday. Some of you guys have been a little late turning things in, and that's fine as, you know, as the semester goes on, but when it's grade time, I got to have it, because if I don't have it, it's just going in as a 0, okay? So starting with today's assignment is going to be how we kind of start doing it with our new format, where you do it on a sheet of paper, you label your paper. That means you put your name, you put the lesson number, and then you number it, you write the problem, show your work. I will not take just answers. I have to see your work because I'm going to be sending you the answers to check your work. Okay? So if I don't see where you did the work and I just see answers, now here's the other thing. Let's say you are doing lights out on homework. You're making hundreds. You're not missing anything. You're not having to do corrections. You're not having to do anything. And then I get a test and you bombed it. That tells me that you're not really doing your homework and that you're just looking at your answers and backing in and doing the homework from the answers. Okay? I can't control what you do in your time at home. I can't control how much effort you put into this. I can't control whether you do it the right way or not. That's all on you. Okay, you guys are getting to the point where learning and taking personal responsibility for your learning is not my job to present material to you, but whether you take that. I know the students, I've got students that constantly come to me and ask for help and when they're struggling and we're working, getting through things. And then I've got ones that are just, and I hear nothing from them. You know, if you're getting help outside, if you've got a tutor, if you've got a parent helping you, that is fabulous, okay? You need support if you're having trouble, okay? But I don't want parents coming to me going, oh, they failed this and, you know, whatever, and it's the first thing I've heard. Well, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then your grade on your test is not going to reflect that. But the main thing is, I'm not going to go as far as Miss Steph does with the homework right now. We'll kind of build up to it. Like she has things like you lose points if you don't circle your answer. You lose points if you haven't numbered your pages. You lose points if you do this and that. I'm not going that strong right now, okay? Right now, I'm just kind of getting us to shift a little bit where we're on paper doing our lessons. It is labeled, so when you hand it to me, I know exactly what page your work is from. I can see your work. I can see that you did it. I'll send the answers. You'll check it. X what you missed, circle it, highlight it, mark it somehow. So when I look at your work, I can go, oh, they missed it here. And then I turn the page and you've got your corrections. And it says lesson 42 corrections. So right in front of that was lesson 42 homework. You marked what you missed and then you turn the page, lesson 42 corrections. Then on those corrections, I can see, oh, look, they reworked it and got it right. Yay. That means you're in control of this homework grade and that means you got 100. Okay. Right now with the homework grades, if you're missing things and you're bombing it, then you're kind of starting behind the 8 ball. Okay. By doing the homework grades the way I am right now, you're not getting the opportunity to learn from your mistakes. And I don't like that. I just don't like it. The reason I started that is because I felt like I would have no way of really knowing if you're doing your homework or not. If I didn't get you to upload it at a certain point and I didn't check it, then I wouldn't really know. But in doing that, my fear has been, or my realization has been, I'm giving you the lesson once and then you're doing work on it. And if you don't understand, I'm not giving you an opportunity to learn it again. And so I don't want to mark you off on your homework and I don't want you to make low grades on homework because you're not getting an opportunity to learn. So obviously I can't teach each section twice. So I can't teach a section, let you do homework and teach it again to give you that opportunity to learn. So that's where it kind of comes on you to check your homework. That's going to be that second learning opportunity for you to look and see what did I miss and why did I miss it and correct it and move on. That way, going through that correction process, when it comes test time, then you're going to go, oh yeah, I remember when I missed this, this is why I missed it. So now you've got that kind of back in your head. Instead of you getting a page full of marks and things and you've got an F on a homework assignment, you go, well, I really didn't get a chance to learn it anyway. That's killing me, grading those papers and seeing the things that you're missing. And so that's why I figured we had to make a change, especially looking at grades, looking at that last test and marking the corrections and going, oh my goodness, I don't like that. Okay. And I know that you don't like getting stuff back going, oh my gosh, I've got to, you know, we had a 50-item test and I've got to correct 25 of them. Or I've got a 50-item test and I've got to correct 10 of them even, you know? So, so anyway, that's kind of what I've been struggling with. And this is, and then talking with Miss Steph and seeing how she's doing it and us talking about it, I think it's going to be the best thing for us to try right now, because like I said, then it's going to feed into your upper level math homework assignments as you go on, and hopefully it's going to help. Okay. It's going to seem like more work in the beginning because number one, you're having to get out a sheet of paper and write. Now, if you want to keep a notebook, and, you know, rip out the pages and turn them in later, or however you want to do it, or if you just want it to be on loose leaf notebook paper, it's going to be up to you what kind of paper, whatever. Obviously, I don't want a whole bunch of little jaggly edges where you've ripped it out and just handed me a bunch of those and I've got paper everywhere. So, you know, make sure you tear the little pieces off. But notebook paper, graph paper, if you use grid paper, if that helps you to keep things in alignment, especially dealing with math, that's fine too. Whatever is going to work best for you to write it out. It needs to be nice and neat and organized. What I do need though is for you to write the problem and circle your answer, because circling your answer is going to help you too when you're checking your work. You're going to be able to go, okay, right. Oh, missed that one. Right. You're going to be able to go through it much more quickly, and then you're able just to do your corrections and move on. Okay. Any questions about that? Like I said, that will not start until today's homework, okay? Whereas today's homework, anything that we have starting right now, will be due the first Wednesday, this is not geometry, the first Monday we return to co-op, okay? So that will be the Monday after fall break, all right? So the Monday after fall break, and then, so whatever homework we have up until that point, and then whatever we have from that point in the week after will be due the next Monday, okay? So every Monday when you come to co-op, you're gonna have paper, you're gonna have homework to turn in to me, okay? So on Mondays, homework is due in hand. You do not have to worry about uploading after you've uploaded your packet and get me your test corrections. You do not have to worry about uploading anymore, okay? I know that's a hassle, so let's just get rid of that, okay? And then hopefully we'll have the next 8 weeks to where we'll start out, let's see. So this is the end of week 8. That means next week is the first week of the next 8 weeks. And we're out for break, and then we have 7 weeks, and then we go out for Christmas. And then hopefully in January, we're right back here every single week. And then that's going to be a whole lot easier. We're not going to be thinking about, is this due then, or is this due this week, or is it next week, or when am I going to do that? You know, that kind of stuff. It'll be a whole lot easier. So anyway, we'll just roll with it. We'll figure it out. Like I said in the beginning of the year, we're just kind of doing what we can do and figuring out things as we go, okay? So what I want to do right now is let's talk about what is due and what I need to make sure to have from you by Monday. And so on Monday, your packet is due. Remember, in your packet, you've got some things that are assignments and the others that are bonus for extra credit, okay? You've got those things. You have test corrections that if you have not already turned into me. We've got those. And then, let's look and see. Let me pull up my screen real quick. Okay, so on Monday, we worked through our packet. We worked with our multi-step equations. What did we learn when we have multi-step equations and we have fractions and decimals? What do we have to do first?
Eliminate fractions.
Eliminate the fractions.
decimals.
Very good. How do we eliminate fractions?
Multiply it by the common denominator.
We look for the common denominator and we multiply the entire problem, both left and right sides of the equation. We multiply by the common denominator. By multiplying by the common denominator, it allows us to eliminate the denominators that we've got, okay? Once those denominators are eliminated, how do we eliminate decimals?
Multiply it by its place.
Okay, so we look at the place. We look at how many places after the decimal we have numbers. So, and then we use a power of 10. Are we multiplying by 10? Are we multiplying by 100? Are we multiplying by 1,000? What are we multiplying by to be able to eliminate those decimals? Okay, and once we've done that, we've eliminated fractions, we've eliminated decimals, we can solve for our variable. Now, what if I have absolute values? What do I know I'm going to have to do with absolute values? There's a couple of things that I know I'm going to have to do. What do I do first if I have absolute values?
Get it by itself.
Get it by itself. I need to isolate my absolute value. That's the first thing I need to do. Once my absolute value is isolated, what do I do next?
Set up two equations.
I need to set up two equations. On my left-hand side, my equation is exactly as it is with the absolute value symbols, but I dropped the symbols. Okay? Exactly the same, just drop the absolute value sign. My second equation, the one on the right-hand side, everything is the same on the left-hand side of my equal sign, but on the right-hand side, I have a negative. So if it's just a negative number, I have a negative number. But if I have a couple of terms, let's say it was 2x plus 1, then that means I have to take the opposite of each sign. So I have to distribute that negative to each term, okay? Then I'm able to solve. So now when I have two equations and I've solved for two answers, what did we have to do in some of our homework? What did we have to look for?
The
Does anybody remember what they're called? Or we had to plug in our answer?
It starts with the E, right?
It does start with an E, exclusions, okay? So we had to plug our answers in and see, did they really work? We had to test our answers out. Hey, I solved it. Huh? Extraneous. Good. Yes, extraneous. So we were looking for extraneous solutions, okay? And so we found that, hey, this doesn't work. So that was when we said, hey, if this does not equal this, then it's extraneous. We're not going to do that on the test, okay? You're just going to solve your absolute value things and then move on. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look in our textbook real quick.
What is happening to my textbook, but it looks like it's on its last legs.
I was looking it up and it already was terrible.
Look, yours is better than mine. Sounds like I have a dog. I don't have a dog.
What happened to you?
I don't even have a dog. This page, like a dog got to it. I don't even have a dog.
Yeah, these books with the thin paper.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. I didn't even do anything. And it rips.
If you have test corrections, hey, if you have test corrections to turn in, just make sure your name is on it. And so I will take them.
Is your last name on it?
Yes.
No.
I started doing that before since I met you.
I'm like, well, now we're just in class, so it's like equally important.
Yeah. One teacher was
I just
Anybody else have test corrections?
Claire
I have a dog. If we all get together, it'd be like, wow.
She lives in Texas right now. Like her mom got married. I think she got married. Trying to get it off. So happy for her. Now we're getting sick with it. Sometimes it's really easy.
No, it's
Sometimes
really tired.
And I don't always have work and then.
My dad just brought one. She got
Okay. So now we have kind of wrapped up with that section, with that unit. Like I said, your packet is going to be counting as your test grade. So we will not have a test on this section dealing with eliminating fractions, decimals, and absolute values. Our packet is going to count as that test grade. And then we've got the bonus to help with that. Okay. So now we're going to be shifting gears and moving along to lesson 22 on page 49. So that's where we need to be right now is page 22. Sorry, lesson 22, page 49.
Lesson 22.
Lesson 22, page 49.
Yeah, looks fun.
Oh, I'm not doing papers. I'm really on this quick. I need to pay attention to this.
All right. So what do you see that we have done before in this section?
Radicals.
Radicals. What do we know about radicals? All right. Listen up, please. Time to shift from. Let's go ahead and.
Oh, is this the same thing?
What do we know about radicals? What are radicals?
They're numbers.
Our numbers. How are they expressed?
The radical.
As maybe a square root. Okay. How do I know if it's a square root?
There'll be nothing on the index.
There's nothing written as the index. And what do I understand that number to be? Good. Okay. So we understand that to be a 2. What if there's a 3 there?
It's cubed.
It's cubed.
It is cubed. And what does that mean?
This
That you groups
three buddies.
Groups of 3, 3 buddies. Good. Square root 2, 2 buddies, 3, 3 buddies. Okay.
And so forth.
And so forth. Yeah, exactly. If I saw something that had a 4th root, 4 buddies, 5th root, 5 buddies, and you can keep on going from there. We won't.
Thank goodness.
All righty. So we see that we've got radicals here. So if I want to simplify radicals, how do I do that? What does that mean? If I have this square root of 9.
You simplify it's like prime factors.
I have to list my prime factors out, and that's when I look for my buddies, right?
Yeah.
So with radicals, I've got to list my prime factors, find my groupings, whatever group can come out. I put on the outside of the radical sign, whatever left under the radical stays in, okay? So whatever you can factor out or whatever you can group out comes out. Whatever stays under the radical stays under the radical. Now what we see here in lesson 22 that is different is we have got radicals in the denominator. And that's a big no-no, all right? So if you ever see a problem with a radical in the denominator, you know that you've got work to do. Because you know how we talk about when we have certain problems. So think about a fraction. How do you know you're done with a fraction answer? What have you looked at? Is it what? Is it in simplest form? Okay. So you've gotten in the habit of having fraction work, and you get an answer, and you know you're not done yet until you've put it in simplest form. So this is what we're kind of doing here, is if you ever end up with a radical in the denominator, then you know you still have work to do. All right. So here's my question. Raise your hand if you've ever had me before. Because you're a plus. Yeah. Do I like being the bad guy?
No.
Kid is a little bit of a stretch. I like it. Trust me, I like it. Because cool inside.
Young adults.
Young adults. Okay, that's stretching it too. Cool adults. I don't like being the bad guy, y'all. So please don't put me in that position. Okay. And number 2, I don't like calling you out. I hate embarrassing people. But when I'm up here in front of a group of people, I don't have time to come over here and go, oh, what are you doing? Oh, how's that going? I can't do that. Okay. Plus right now I don't do faces on. But anyway, the main thing is, when we're in here, I know that this is not, you know, you don't go, woo, going to algebra, can't wait, I'm going to listen to her and I'm going to learn, and I got it. I get that, okay? But, like I said, I've got parents emailing me going, what's going on with my kid's grade? And right now I have not said, well, if you saw the way they were behaving in class, you know, I haven't gone there yet, but that's my next step, okay? So when they're going, I just don't understand what's going on. I don't want to be a tattletale. I don't want to be going, oh, your kid will shut up in my class, and I'm always going to go, would you please pay attention? You know, that kind of stuff. But the thing is that I need you to realize is that when you are engaging with someone else, you're affecting those around you because everybody else wants to go, well, what are they talking about? I want to hear, is it something funny? So then everybody around you kind of turns, which means everybody that's watching is not up here with me, which means they're not getting the material, okay? And again, I don't want to be the mean guy. I don't want to have to fuss. I don't want to have to sit boy-girl. I mean, I don't know how we could do that, but we could figure it out. And I also don't want to have to give assigned seats, okay? But that's my next step. My next step is to have assigned seats in here. And it may be even that I have to pull some separate tables in to have some separation as well. And that will be super embarrassing. That will be more embarrassing than me calling your name, as if I have to put you up here beside me, okay? I don't want to have to do that. So don't make me do that. But that's my next step, is if I've addressed it and I've said, please pay attention, and you still won't pay attention, then my next step is proximity and moving you, okay? So I don't like being the bad guy, so please don't make me be the bad guy. I can be. I'm pretty good at it, but I don't like to be. You can ask my kids. I know. I said I don't like to be the bad guy, but I can do it, and when I do it very well, is what I'm saying.
She's got experience.
I do have plenty of experience, unfortunately. So, like I said, don't make me do it. It's all up to you. Totally up to you whether I have to be the bad guy or not. So, fortunately, I'm not going to have to be a bad guy because y'all are going to pay attention. And I'm not going to have to go, you are being rude. Okay. Yeah, so,
in that class, I was in here Wednesday and someone kept beating on the wall.
Okay, so that would have been, was that Wednesday morning?
Yeah.
It would have been Easton Walker. So
I'm not surprised.
he was sitting, he sits in this back seat back here, and I think he fell backwards and landed.
Did he do it 3 times in a row?
Well, he moves a lot during class.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it was that many times. Okay, so here we go. Everybody's had a minute to kind of visit and look at each other. Thank you. I need that. Will you pray that over me, please? Okay, so here we go. All right. One rule of working with roots is that you can never leave a radical in the denominator of a fraction. This is the same as leaving a fraction unsimplified. Okay, so not simplifying a fraction is the same as leaving a radical in the denominator. A radical in the denominator means it is not simplified. Okay. So it says occasionally you will have a problem that seems to simplify with a radical left in the denominator. When this happens, you must rationalize the denominator, a process that eliminates the radical from the denominator, okay? So that's what we're going to be looking at today, is rationalizing the denominator. Let me make this a little bit. Okay. It says there are 3 possible scenarios for radicals in the denominator. First, there may be a simple square root in the denominator, such as 5 over the square root of 2. So this is where I am right now. I might see a simple square root, okay? The second option is a higher order radical in the denominator, such as 5 over the cubed root of 2, okay? So maybe it's a square root, maybe it's a cubed root. The third one is if I have the sum or difference of a radical in the denominator. So maybe I have 5 over 1 plus the square root of 2. Fortunately, it says this book will only consider the first 2 options. This is something that you will look at probably in Algebra 2. We won't do it in Algebra 1, okay? We're going to focus on these 2 ways. So then that way, when you get to Algebra 2, you are proficient with these and you can move on to that. You're not having to relearn these because you're going to learn them now. Okay, so we're going to do the first 2 options. To rationalize a denominator containing a square root, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to underline to rationalize a denominator containing a square root, multiply both the numerator and the denominator of that fraction by the root in the denominator.
Where is that?
To rationalize a denominator, so right here it starts with to rationalize a denominator containing a square root, multiply both the numerator and the denominator of that fraction by the root in the denominator. So let's look at the example they gave us. They started out with 5 over the square root of 2. Okay? So what they said is I need to multiply the numerator and denominator by that square root. Now, this is one of the things that I do not like about this book, is I don't like that they went ahead and stuck that together in a fraction. What I would prefer, and what I'll do, I'll kind of write it out to the side real quick. If I had 5 over the square root of 2, I want to show that I'm doing the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. Because what is the square root of 2 over the square root of 2? What does that equal to?
1.
1. Remember, anything that I have in the numerator that is over the same thing in the denominator can cancel as 1. So if I have x over x squared over x squared, 5x plus 3 over 5x plus 3, they would both cancel. If I have the exact same thing in the numerator as what's in the denominator, that is equal to 1. They cancel each other out. So when I multiply a number by 1, if I multiply 3 by 1, what is my answer? 3. So when I multiply a number by 1, it does not change its value. So even here, when I multiply 5 over the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, that's like I'm multiplying 5 over the square root of 2 times 1. Now it's going to change my numbers, but because I'm using my property of equality, remember, if I multiply my numerator, I multiply by the denominator, I'm multiplying both by the same, so I'm using that property of equality to keep it balanced here. All right, so what did we learn when I multiply a whole number by a radical? I just write it as the whole number multiplied by the radical. So that becomes 5 times the square root of 2. Bless you. When I have a number in front of a radical, I understand that the operation here is multiplication. Just like if I had 2x. I understand that if I knew what x was, I would just multiply it by 2. They're written side by side, so that indicates multiplication. Same thing here. Multiplying 5 times 2. Now, look at this. If I multiply the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, remember how we learned that if I had the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, I can put that under the same radical? Okay, so I could just combine them under the same radical. What do you notice when I have 2 2's under here? Buddies. Because what is my index?
2.
2. So what happens here?
They come out.
They can come out. Okay, so when I am here in this step where I have 5 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, what is the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? The square root of 4, which is equal to 2. So if I multiply a radical by itself, the radical goes away and my answer is the number underneath it. Okay? So the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 equals 2. So here I would have 5 times the square root of 2 over 2. So let's look at a couple of these for just a minute.
Is that
So you
done?
can have a radical.
Hold on just a minute. For that one, it is done, but let's look at something real quick. What if I have the square root of 8 times the square root of 8? What does that equal?
Square root 64?
It would equal 8 because you would put them with the same radical.
I don't even have to think about what is 8 times 8. I know that if I have a square root times itself, it equals the number under the radical. What if I have the square root of 125 times the square root of 125?
125.
That is 125. What if I have the square root of x times the square root of x? What does that equal? X. So the square root of any number times the same thing is just whatever the number is underneath the radical. Okay? So just like we said, the square root of 9 is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. So if the square root of 9 is 3, that's because the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the whole number of 3. Okay? So I'm going to flip back to our page now. All righty. So we just looked at this and said, hey, I would end up here. Come on. It's lagging. There.
Oh, we didn't even touch it.
So when, well, it had changed on my iPad, but it just had not communicated with all of this. So when I end up here, the way I look at this and say, okay, I got rid of my radical in the denominator, so I'm good there. But now what I have to do is I have to say, are these two in simplest form? So I've got to look and say, can I reduce these numbers? And I've got a 5 and a 2, I cannot. The next thing I have to look at is, now that I have this radical here, can this be simplified? Okay, so after I clear my denominator, my radical in the denominator, now I've got to look and see, can I simplify here and can I simplify here? If I cannot, I'm done. That is my answer. Okay?
How would you simplify a number in a square root?
You can't. That's why I said you would be looking at the whole numbers.
You're saying if you could, like if you would have to.
So like if this, come on, there you go, come on.
A little closer, yay!
If this number was 6, could I simplify with 2?
Yeah.
What would it be?
3.
3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3, so my answer would be 3 times the square root of 2. So if this number can be simplified with this number, only whole numbers. I can't simplify my radical with a whole number. Those two don't go together. Those are unlike terms. But if I have whole numbers here, I look to see if I could simplify those.
Would it still be divided by 2, or would you change?
No, because remember my fraction bar is the same as a division sign. So this up here is being divided by this down here. This is a division problem right here. Just like this right here is a multiplication problem. There's just nothing I can do to simplify it. That's as far as it can go. This right here is a division problem. This would be read as 5 times the square root of 2 divided by 2. Okay?
Even if you simplified it, your answer would still be read as something times square root of 2 over 2.
That's the answer of this problem. That's as simplified as it can get. Okay? So now we're going to look at what would happen if I have, okay, again, I do not like the next example that they've given because they throw in these variables and that just freaks everybody out.
Yeah, that was really
So we're not even going to look at that, okay? Let's just go down to the next example where if I had 2 times the cubed root of 5. I'm at the bottom. So remember, if I had the square root, I just multiplied by the square root and I was good to go. How many buddies do I need for a square root?
You need
3.
For a square root, I need 2.
Because
Now for this one is 3, right? I need 3 buddies. If I just multiplied this by itself, then I'm only going to have 2 5s. So I've got to look at my radical and I've got to look at my index to see how many of my buddies I need. So here I've got 1 5. So how many more 5s do I need to get rid of that?
3.
I need 2 more to make a total of 3.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So that's what they showed here, is they said I've got the index of 3. So I need 3 minus 1 because I need 3 5s to clear this. I already have 1. Now, what I would prefer to do, again, this is that's what this means. To me, that this is in the clearest way to do it. So what I want to show you is if I've got an index of 3, then what I need to have is 2 times the cubed root of 5 times.
Yeah, you can.
The internet's struggling today. Come on.
You can do it.
Come on. Oh, see, my internet connection is unstable.
There it goes. Is that all of it?
Okay. This is my original problem, right? I've got 2 times the cubed root of 5 equals. So this is my original problem. I have 1 5 here. How many do I need to clear this?
2, 3.
I need a total of 3, so I need 2 more. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that means I'm going to have to multiply by the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5. Because now I have 1, 2, 3 5s. So if it's a square root, I only need 2. If it's a cubed root, I'm going to need 3. to me, it's easier to see it this way, to go ahead and multiply 2 times to get 3 of whatever I need in the denominator. So now to simplify this, what is the cubed root of 3 times the cube root of 5 times the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5?
Wait. That's
It's a big number.
How do you get a 25?
Okay, hold on.
Why do you get a 2 turn into the cube root of 5?
I'm not turning anything into the cubed root of 5. I'm multiplying by it. Okay, so this little dot here indicates multiplication. Okay, so I'm putting these dots here to show that I'm multiplying 2 times the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5, because I need 3 5s to be in my denominator. So just to show you, if I had this, that means I've got 2 times the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5 in my numerator. And then I have the cubed root of 5 times 5 times 5. So that means I've got those as my buddies. So what comes out of there?
All of them. 5. Just 5.
Just the number 5. So if I have 3 5s, then my denominator is now 5. My numerator, I do need to combine these. So what is the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5?
1. 5.
That's divided by.
Yeah. Oh, it's just.
Remember, I combined them under the same radical. So then I'm going to have the cubed root of 5 times 5. What is 5 times 5?
25.
So I have 2 times the cubed root of 25 over 5.
25.
So the first thing we did is we looked at our index and said, hey, I'm dealing with the cubed root of 5 in my denominator. I know to get all the radicals out of my denominator, I'm going to have 3 5s because my index is 3. So the way I can get 3 5s in my denominator is to multiply by the cubed root of 5 and the cubed root of 5. But I can't just multiply my denominator. I have to multiply numerator and denominator because those are equal to 1. Remember, multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value. So I multiply by the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5. Multiply again by the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5. We'll come back and take a look at this some more.
My brother like we're going back over and Chad was talking to her. That's concerning to me. Please stop. Chad is
Okay, I want a brand new piece of notebook paper, all labeled. I don't want scratch paper. You're doing all of your work. Yeah, once you have, like, if you had 5 pages, they all need to be 5 pages. But number 1 is all worked right here. You show your work, here's your answer, you circle it. Move on to 2. Here's all your problem, all your work, circle your answer, move on to 3. If it takes multiple pages, you just staple it together.
Good job, Chad. Thank you. Maybe it'll be less likely after it has a break.
Do what?
So maybe it'll be less laggy after it has a break.
Hopefully.
My iPad will lag really bad, so I'll step away for a few minutes, and I'll come back and it'll be okay.
right, time to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hit my face on the wall.
Imagine sitting in the shower. But it was fast.
I missed you so much.
You did, Miss Sarah.
What? Oh, I talked to Sarah the whole time.
So earlier we looked at when we multiplied a square root by itself, it just came out from under the radical. So the square root of 8 times the square root of 8 was 8. So the cubed root of 8 times the cubed root of 8 times the cubed root of 8 equals 8.
Oh.
I've got 3 of them. I need 3 buddies because it's the cubed root. So the cubed root of 125 times the cubed root of 125 times the cubed root of 125 equals
25.
125 because I have 3 of them under the radical. I need 3 buddies to come out as one group. So the cubed root of x times the cubed root of x times the cubed root of x equals x. Okay? So if I'm clearing a denominator and it's a square root, I need 2. So that means I already have 1 in my problem. I need to multiply by 1 more to get the radical cleared. If I have a cubed root in my denominator, I already have 1 in my problem, so I need to multiply by 2 more to get 3. Is everybody good with that? Okay, so let me go back. New page. Okay, so that is why in this one, we had to multiply by the cubed root of 5 times the cubed root of 5. I'm sorry, the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5, the cubed root of 5 over the cubed root of 5. So I ended up with 2 of them, though, now in my numerator. Remember, 3 of them in my denominator came out as a whole number. But because I had to multiply to clear my denominator, now I've got them in my numerator. So I've got to do something with them there. Okay? So because I've got the cubed root of 5 twice up here, it becomes, I can put them under the same radical, but 5 times 5 is 25. So there is nothing else I can do to simplify the cubed root of 25. So that's in simplest form there. Again, here I have a 2 in my numerator, a 5. I would look to see if that can be simplified. Look to see if that can be simplified. If it cannot, I'm done. So let's practice with this a little bit. And let's start with our classwork. I have 4 divided by the square root of 7. What is the problem with this number?
Oh,
there's a
I have a radical in the denominator, and that is a big no-no. So how do I eliminate that? What do I need to do first? Multiply by what?
Square root of 7 on both sides.
Numerator is square root of 7, denominator is square root of 7. So the square root of 7 over the square root of 7, or the square root of 7 divided by the square root of 7. So I've had to multiply by that. So remember, multiplying fractions, numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. Now in my numerator, I have 4 times the square root of 7. The square root of 7 times the square root of 7 in my denominator becomes 7.
And that's,
And that is all I can do with that answer because this cannot be simplified. And 4 and 7 cannot, there's no numbers that I can divide both of them by to reduce. Let's look at the next one. 5 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 6. What do I need to multiply by?
square root of 6.
The square root of 6 over the square root of 6. Okay, so now let's look at what I've got. I already have a radical in my numerator. So I've got 5 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 6 over 6. Now what I've got to do here, if I have the square root of 2 times the square root of 6, I can combine them under the radical, right? So that would be 5 times, I've got 2 times 6, right? Now, this I would recommend, instead of you jumping and multiplying here and saying this is 12, go ahead and look and see 2 is a prime factor. What are my prime factors of 6? 2 and 3. So now I've got to list these as prime factors. So that means I have 5 times the square root of 2 times 2 times 3. What do you notice now?
2 can come out.
I've got buddies.
5, which is 10.
I've got buddies here. So that means those 2's can come out. So now we are taking the lessons that we previously learned several lessons back on rationalizing on simplifying square roots. This was what some of your test corrections probably were on. So hopefully you've done those corrections and you understand it a little bit better. The reason we need to understand it in the past is because we're going to keep working with them now. If you don't understand simplifying square roots, I need you to work on that, okay? Remember, to simplify square roots, you just look at whatever's under the radical, prime factorization, listed as a product of prime numbers. Use your index to determine your buddies, circle your groups, and they come out. Now, we've circled a group here, a group of 2's. When they come out, what do I need to do with them?
Multiply them by 5.
Okay, I've got a 5. I've pulled out a group of 2. What is left under my radical?
3.
The 3. I'm still over 6. I have to just keep writing everything that's not being changed. So all I did here was I showed my prime factors. I circled my buddies. These guys are coming out as a whole number 2. So when they come out as a whole number, I have to put it with my whole number here. And I understand that when they come out, they're going to be multiplied. So what is 5 times 2?
10.
10. All right, so now I have 10 times the square root of 3 over 6. I've dealt with my radicals, but what do I need to deal with now?
You have to reduce 2 and 6.
10 and 6. They're both even, so I know they're both divisible by what? 2. 2. What is 10 divided by 2?
5.
What is 6 divided by 2?
3.
So my final answer will be 5 times the square root of 3 over 3. And there's my final answer. So let's walk back through that for a minute to look at how we got from start to finish. We started with 5 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 6. We knew to eliminate the square root of 6 that I needed to multiply by the square root of 6 over the square root of 6. When I multiplied by that meant I had to multiply the numerator and the denominator. When I multiplied the denominator, it cleared it. My radical is now gone, but now I have an additional radical to do within my numerator. So when I combined these under the same radical sign, I went ahead and left them as the products of numbers. I left them as factors, but then I said, but this one is prime, but this one is not. I need to break this one down into prime factors to see if I can find some buddies. And when I broke it down and I had 2 times 2 times 3, lo and behold, I've got 2 2's. I found that group, so that meant they could come out from under the radical. And when they came out, I have to multiply them by the number that was originally there. Whatever did not buddy up still has to stay. Once I did all that, I have 10 times the square root of 3 over 6, and I had to simplify these whole numbers here. So this is how we ended up with 5 times the square root of 3 over 3. Okay? Let's look at the next one. What is my index of this one?
12.
12. So how many 12s am I going to need in my denominator?
3.
I need 3 total. How many do I already have?
1.
So how many more do I need?
2.
Good. So let's go ahead and multiply by the square root, or the cubed root, sorry, of 12 over the cubed root of 12 times the cubed root of 12 over the cubed root of 12. Now, yay, that's going to help me in the denominator, but I can see I'm going to have some work to do in the numerator, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does my denominator become?
3 times the cube root of 140. Or denominator.
Denominator.
12.
12. We're going to do the easy part first. Okay? And so in my numerator, I'm going to have 3 times the cubed root of 12 times the cubed root of 12. Stop me if I get to a point where you're not sure what I've done. If you're not following, let me know. Okay, so we've multiplied we've multiplied by denominators. We've gotten the radical out of our denominator, so I'm good with that. Now I've got to work with my numerator. I don't want to worry right now about multiplying 12 times 12 and getting 144. That's going to be a whole lot harder to simplify and break into prime factors than breaking down 12 and 12. Okay? So now that's what we're going to do, is we have our 3 in the numerator. Under the radical, I've got my cubed root there. So now I'm going to break down 12. So what are my prime factors of 12?
2 and 3.
2 times 3 is 6. So what else do I need?
Another 2.
Another 2. So for my first 12 right here, I've got 2 times 2 times 3, right? Because that's 12. Now I've got to do the factors of this 12, which will be another 2 times 3. I'm sorry, 2 times 2 times 3. All over 12. Is everybody good with how we got there? So what I did is here, I've got the cube root of 12. So that's what I've got right here. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So I took care of that 12. Then I've got this 12 here, so it's over here now. 2 times 2 times 3. How many buddies do I need?
3.
Why?
Because the index.
The index is 3. So to be able to clear any of this, I need 3 of something. What do I have 3 of?
2.
2. So I've got 1, 2, 3 2s. What is going to happen with that group of 2s?
They're coming out.
It's going to come outside. It's going to multiply with my whole number. So now I have 3 times 2. What is left under the radical?
18. 3 times.
So if these are circled and they come outside,
It would be 3 times 2 times 3.
3 times 2 is
6.
and 6 times 3 is
18.
18. So under my radical, I still have 18. So I've got 3 times 2 times the cubed root of 18 over 12. What is 3 times 2?
6.
So now I have 6 times the cubed root of 18 over 12. Why am I not done?
Because you can it.
I've got a 6 in my numerator and a 12 in my denominator. What are they both divisible by?
6.
6.
6.
What is 6 divided by 6?
1.
1. What is 12 divided by 6? 2. If I have a 1 in front of the cube root of 18, do I need that 1 there?
No.
No. Does it matter if I have it there?
No.
No. I can write my 1. I cannot write my 1. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that I've got the cube root of 18 over 2, and that's my final answer. Okay? So now, let's look at our activities 2. I have 3 divided by the square root of 11. How am I going to eliminate that square root of 11? Multiply by the square root of 11 over the square root of 11. So in my numerator, I have 3 times the square root of 11 over what? 11. Is that my final answer?
No.
Wait, yes.
Yes.
Why?
Because you can't simplify.
11's prime, so I know 3 and 11 are not going to be able to cancel. I know the square root of 11, again, 11's prime, so I can't break that down. So there's my answer. Let's look at the one underneath it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a fantastic.
What is my problem? What is not okay with this?
Oh,
There's a
There's a radical.
Yeah.
I have a whole number and a radical. Is my whole number a problem?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Oh, it's not.
No, I can have a whole number. Like if I have 2/3, I don't have to do anything with that. I just leave it alone. Now, if I had 2 over the square root of 3, that's a problem. But right now, I can have a whole number in my denominator. That's not a problem. What my problem is that radical. So I have to multiply by the radical. Only the radical. So now I have the square root of 12 over the square root of 12. I only need to worry about the radical. The whole number is okay.
Yeah.
So now, my numerator. I've got 7 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 12. So I'm going to go ahead and have my 7, and under my radical, I'm going to put 3 times 12. Now my denominator. What is able to come out of the square root of 12 times the square root of 12?
2 times. No.
Remember, what's the purpose of multiplying a square root by itself? It gets rid of the radical sign, and so what is my number? 12. 12 is under the radical. I already have this 6, so I cannot forget him. I have 6, but now I've been able to pull out my 12, right? So just like with other numbers, when I pull out a group and I multiply it by the whole number, that's what I do down here too. The square root of 12 times the square root of 12 is 12. But I already had a 6 here, so I've got to multiply those together. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at what we've got in the numerator. I've got 3 times 12 under my radical sign, so I need to go ahead and break 12 into prime factors. I keep my 7. 3 is already prime, so what I need to break down my 12. And what do we know prime factors of 12 are? 2 times 2 times 3. All over. What is 6 times 12?
72.
72. So I can go ahead and simplify that. What is my index?
2.
How many buddies do I need?
2.
2. Oh, looky there. I've got 2 2s
And 2 3s.
and 2 3s. So what can come out?
All of it.
All of it. So I'm going to have 7 times 2 times 3 over 72.
So no more radicals?
Okay.
Right hand?
I'm sorry?
The radical goes away?
The radical goes away. If I've pulled all my buddies out and there is nothing left under there, it is gone. Okay? So now, what is 7 times 2?
42.
7 times 2 is 42.
14.
14 and 14 times 3.
42.
42. So now we have 42 over 72. Are we done?
No.
Because
It's
it's
even.
2, so we can go by 2.
Okay, it is even, so they're both divisible by 2. So what is 42 divided by 2?
21.
21. What is 72 divided by 2?
37. 36?
36.
No, wait.
36.
Is it
36.
Oh, I was right.
7 over 9.
Why?
Because 21
I can divide 21 by what? That I can also divide 36 by.
You can't divide 36 by 7.
Not by 7. So remember, the first one we divided by 2. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 36 divided by 3 is not 9.
8.
Not
No.
8.
12.
12. So it's 7 over 12. Okay? So notice, one of the things I want you to notice is had I started here, I could have divided by 6 in one step.
Yes.
But it's okay if you don't recognize a larger number that they're both divisible by, then start dividing by 2 and then divide by another number. Do as many steps as you need to do. You don't have to get the biggest number first. You can do it in less steps, but okay. Let's go ahead and move to the right-hand side. 8 times the square root of 3 over the square root of 5. What do I need to do?
Multiply by square root of 5.
Multiply by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5. So what do I have in my numerator?
8
8
times the square root
times
of 3
the square root of
times
3
the square root of 5.
times the square root of 5. What do I have in my denominator?
And 5.
5. Now, this is the point where I look at these and say, hey, if I can simplify these, if I can go ahead and break them into prime factors, I will. 3 is prime and 5 is prime, so I can't break them down any further. So if I already have prime numbers, now I can just multiply them together.
Which is 50?
So I would have 8 times the square root of 15 over 5. Is there anything I can do to simplify?
No.
That's my final answer. The square root of 15 cannot be simplified. I have an 8 in my numerator, a 5 in the denominator, so I cannot divide both of those. All right. Look at 5 times the square root of 7 over 4 times the square root of 3. I want you to work that one right now. Work that one right now. Think about what you need to eliminate. How do you do that? What is my problem in my denominator?
The whole number.
Is my whole number a problem or my
No, it's the
radical?
radicand.
Oh, the radicand's the problem, but you got it.
Okay, so what do I need to do to get rid of that square root of 3 in the denominator? Multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. So what do I have in my numerator in the top?
5
times
square
the square root of 7 times
3.
the square root of 3. What do I have in my denominator?
4 times
4 times 3. My 3 does come out, but 4 was already there. I can't forget him. Okay? So if you already have a number there, don't forget it in your answer. So that means I've got to multiply it. All right. So before I do go any further, I want to look at these two. Are they prime?
No.
Yes.
7 is a prime number. 3 is a prime number. That means I cannot break them into anything smaller. So I know I'm just going to multiply those together under the radical. So I end up with 5 times the square root of 21 over, what's 4 times 3? 12. Did you get 5 times the square root of 21 over 12?
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Awesome. Very good.
Good job, Betsy.
Hey, what about me? I got it.
Very good. All right. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and turn to page 50.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so page 50. Listen closely, please, because this is going to be your first way of doing new homework. Page 50. You are going to do activities 3 and 4, but we need to number these. So you've got a problem. What is that? You got me because I'm a cool kid?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. We're looking at page 50. Look at page 50. We need to number these so we make sure that everybody has the same numbers, okay? So in section 3, this will be number 1. To the right of it will be number 2. Underneath will be number 3. And then I will have number 4. So go ahead and number those 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. And then underneath that in activities 4 will be 5 and 6. Number 5. Number 6. Okay. So as of now, your first homework assignment sheet will have your name, lesson 22, and then it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to worry about page whatever, activities whatever. We've numbered these. So you'll just put lesson 22, and then you'll have 6 problems to work. So that means you will write the problem, you will show your work, and you will circle your answer. Now, look at activities 4. In your directions, it does say identify extraneous solutions. That means for numbers 5 and 6, you're going to solve your 2 equations to find your answer. Then I need to see your work where you plug those 2 answers in to see if they make true statements. So really, you're working 4 problems for number 5 and 4 problems for number 6. Okay? All right, so that's your first bit of homework. Now we're going to move on. And actually, let's go ahead and write up here at the top of it. We're going to view, let's see what date that's going to be when we come back. I think it is the 15th. No, it's the 19th. So this is due 10/19. Okay, so you will not actually turn this in until 10/19. Now here's my question for you. Okay, if you wait until right before 10/19 and you haven't done this, are you going to remember it? No. Probably not. So don't wait till right before. Try to get it done. Okay, because also next week when we have virtual class, if you haven't done the work and you don't know to ask for help, then you don't know that you need help and you've lost a week of instruction. One of the things that I will mention is that one of the hardest things about the virtual in class and out of class is I feel like when we're virtual, we're more hesitant to ask for help. Versus in class, I don't feel like you're getting it as well virtually as you are in class. So if you're missing a whole week of asking for help, so let's say on this lesson, you don't do your work, so you've missed next week to ask for help. We're out the next week, and then we come back and you're supposed to have your work due. You're going to have trouble with it, okay? So don't wait till the last minute. All right, so that is our first part of homework. Now let's turn to page 51, lesson 23. All right, so we see something similar here, but we see a little bit different. And it says dividing radicals. Notice now we have divided radicals before. Back together, we've divided radicals before, but now we have radicals also in our denominator, so it's going to look a little different.
Wait, didn't we have something with the radicals in the denominator before?
Well, we just did radicals in the denominator in that last lesson, but now we are dividing with radicals. We have radicals, we're starting out with radicals in the numerator and the denominator, and so we're going to divide. All right. So it says here, when dividing radicals, follow these steps. Step 1, divide the coefficients. Coefficients are the numbers outside the radicals. So if I'm looking at this problem here, 12 and 4 are my coefficients. So think about when I have like 4x. Ooh, that's my highlighter. If I have 4x, my coefficient is 4, and my x is my variable. So this is called a coefficient when I'm dealing with variables. When I'm dealing with radicals, my coefficient is the number in front of the radical. So step 1 is to divide the coefficients. Step 2 is to divide the radicands. The radicand is the portion under the radical. To get the radicand, so then step 3 says rationalize the denominator if necessary. And notice it says there are no fractions in the radical, no radicals in the denominator. And then reduce if necessary. So we have 4 steps here. We're going to go through these 4 steps. Now, we talk about if we see this funky, it's for whatever reason. In some books, I think it has a division sign, and some it does not. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to rewrite these problems as a fraction. We're going to write them as a numerator and a denominator. So I'm going to write 12 times the square root of 10 over 4 times the square root of 15. Because now when I see these vertically, I can automatically see here that, hey, these are going to be able to divide. Okay? So when I write that, you can see here like they did. They rewrote it. 12 times the square root of 10 over 4 times the square root of 15.
Why couldn't the book just give it for us?
They did.
No,
They like doing it the hard way.
But why wouldn't they just do a check mark and not say rewrite it?
Well, I think what happened, they're not saying rewrite the check. They're not putting rewrite meaning the check mark. They're meaning rewrite it from being horizontal to writing it vertically. It's not the check mark issue. Okay. So first we're going to rewrite it vertically. Now, remember step 1 was to divide the coefficients. So you can see that they divided and they said that 12 divided by 4 is 3 and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So now I have been able to reduce that to 3 times the square root of 10 over 15.
Like, do we divide by 4 or 3?
Well, here I've divided, remember I've got to divide by what I can divide numbers. 4 is not divisible by 3. No. 4 is divided by 4. So to divide 4 by 4, I have to divide 12 by 4. So that's why they left the 3 there. That's the answer after I divide by 4.
I see.
So numerator and denominator both were divided by 4. And I've ended up with 3 times the square root of 10 over the square root of 15. What is my problem now?
It's in the radical.
I have a square root in my radical. But look here. Look at step 2 where it says divide radicands next. Notice that I can simplify radicands exactly like I simplified my whole numbers. I said, okay, I've got a 10 and a 15. What are both 10 and 15 divisible by? 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So they divided both of those. So now I've ended up with 3 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 3. Is everybody comfortable with how we ended up here?
Yes. Yeah.
We divided 12 by 4 first. Now we divided our radicands exactly like we did. We said I've got a 10 and a 15. I didn't even have to worry about prime factors and buddies and all that stuff. All I looked at was what can I divide both of these numbers by? And I said I can divide them both by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So now that's what's left under my radicals. What is the problem with us?
Oh, it's in the denominator.
There it is. I've got that radical in the denominator. So now my next step, step 3, is to rationalize my denominator. All right. So because my denominator is the square root of 3, I have to multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. 3 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 3 ends up being 3 times the square root of 6. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. So now I have 3 times the square root of 6 over 3. What can be simplified there?
3.
3 divided by 3 is 1. So what am I left with as my answer?
6.
Over 6.
Square root of 6.
So the square root of 6 is my answer. Step 1, divide the coefficients. Step 2, divide the radicals. Step 3, rationalize the denominator. Step 4, reduce if necessary. Evelyn? Okay, let's practice with this. I have 18 times the square root of 6 divided by 3 times the square root of 2. So what am I going to do first?
Make them
Divide the coefficient.
Okay, that is my first step to being able to solve, but what do I want to do before I do? I want to rewrite my problem vertically. So we're going to start with 18 times the square root of 6 over 3 times the square root of 2. So what is the first thing I do?
divide the coefficients.
Dealing with my coefficients first. What are my coefficients?
18 and 3.
18 and 3. What are they both divisible by?
3.
6.
3.
Can I divide 3 by 6? What is that? divided by 6. I can't do that. 3 and 18 3. What's 3 divided by 3? 1. So I'm going to make a little note here just so you can see. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So my 3 crosses out, it becomes a 1. And 18 becomes 6. Okay? So when I canceled out and I divided by 3, 3 divided by 3 cancels, it becomes 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So now, what is my numerator? What did we say our numerator is?
Square root of 2.
Numerator.
Good.
Numerator, denominator. Okay, so like, I have to say this a little bit. I've got my God shirt on and we're in a church. So we'll see. The one way to remember denominator is think about demons and think about they live underground. Okay.
I thought it was going to sound like really bad. I was
Now to talk about demons at the co-op? I don't know.
I mean, it's part of the Bible.
Allowed to say that the denominator is like the demon? Okay, so kind of
I
like,
guess.
I won't say the H word, but kind of like underground demons, okay? You know what? You're going to be a parent one day, and you're going to be telling your children the way you remember the denominator is because the demons underground. All right. Evelyn's going to be sad she went back. So, numerator is the top, the demons are underground. Okay? So, the denominator. So, in the numerator, we canceled 18 and it became 6. So, I have 6 times the square root of 6. Don't go home and tell your mom we talk about demons now. Okay, we have 6 times the square root of 6 now. And what's in my denominator? So, first, we have canceled our coefficients. Now, what do we need to cancel? Radicals. Okay, I have a 6 and a 2. What are those both? 2. Okay, I'll make it a dark color so you can see that. So, if I divide this by 2, it becomes 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now, I have my whole number 6 times my radical reduced to 3. And what happened to my denominator?
It's gone.
Well, we said that 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we've got the square root of 1. What is the square root of 1? 1. So my answer is just going to be 6 times the square root of 3, and I'm done. I didn't even have to rationalize there because when I simplified my radicals, my radical in the denominator went away. You missed our talk on demons, Yeah, she's like, I think I'm glad. Okay, look at the next one. 20 times the square root of 24 divided by 5 times the square root of 3. What do I need to do first?
Divide.
Write it vertically. 20 times the square root of 24 over 5 times the square root of 3 equals. We're going to do something wild and crazy.
Wilder than wild.
Okay? I mean, like this whole day is just going crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. We don't have too much more time to be wild and crazy. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do steps 1 and 2 all in the same problem because I don't want to have to rewrite my problem again. So I'm going to reduce. Listen. I'm going to reduce coefficients and reduce radicals at the same time.
Whoa.
I know. Can y'all handle it?
Maybe.
So what are 20 and 5 both divisible by?
5.
5. What is 5 divided by 5?
1.
1. What is 20 divided by 5?
4.
4. Look, I'm even going to change colors for this here already. Now, I'm going to cancel my radicals. What are 24 and 3 both divisible by?
3.
3. This got 3.
1.
1. So that cancels. What is 24 divided by?
8.
8.
Wow.
So look, in my denominator, I've been able to cancel everything in my denominator, so my denominator is gone. Because when I canceled, my 5 became a 1, and my square root of 3 became a 1, and 1 times 1 is 1, and anything over 1 is that number. So I don't have to worry about my denominator anymore. What do I have left in my numerator?
4 times the square root of 8.
4 times the square root of 8. Am I done?
No,
I've got to simplify here. What do I need to simplify?
8.
Square root of 8. Prime factors of 8.
2 times 2 times 2.
2 times 2 times 2. There are certain primes that you're going to get pretty easy. I mean, you're going to remember like 8, 2 times 2 times 2. 27, 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so kind of thinking about, there's going to be certain numbers that hopefully you'll start seeing, you'll kind of see them, and immediately you're going to know that, hey, the cubed root of 8 is 2, because I would have 3 2s, because I've got 2 times 2 times 2. All right, 2 buddies. What happens with those 2 buddies?
They come out.
They come out. What did I already have?
4.
What do I have to do with 4 and 2?
Multiply.
What is left under the radical?
2.
What is 4 times 2?
8.
So my final answer is 8 times the square root of 2. You will see on your test corrections that if you ended up with an answer like this, that you did not simplify. Okay? Listen carefully to this, because I had some people lose as much as 9 points on their test because they did not simplify. Okay? The directions said, make sure they're in simplest form. You guys didn't simplify on some of these. Okay? So 4 times the square root of 8 is not in simplest form. You have to simplify that. On a test, I'm not going to count it wrong, because like on our test, I think they were each worth, since we ended up omitting one. Did y'all notice we omitted one? I'll tell you why in just a minute. I wrote it on the test, but you might not have gone, looked at it and go, oh, that's the reason why. I omitted one on the back page. But anyway, so on that test, they were worth like, I don't know, a couple of points plus some. So I don't want to count the whole thing wrong because you didn't simplify, okay? There may be some teachers that you encounter one day that will. I'm not going to do that because I'm a cool kid. And so I only took a point off. So that's when you see that minus 1 point. That means I didn't count the whole thing wrong. I just took a point off for simplifying. But unfortunately, that means that if your average ended up, let's say your average was an 80, no, let's say your average was a 90 and I had to take a point off. I mean, yeah, I took a point off. Now you've bumped down to an 89. And that's a bummer to go from an A to a B just because you forgot to simplify. So if you see that minus 1 point and I've written another answer, it's because you didn't simplify. Okay? Yes.
I have a question. How did it get 8 times the square root of 2 instead of 4 times the square root of 8?
Because what I can simplify 8. I have to, this is simplifying radicals back from several lessons ago. Same thing that was on our test. I have to break down the square root of 8 into prime factors. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? Are you with me? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Remember we talked about when I break down my radicals and I put it into prime factors? And so now 8 became 2 times 2 times 2. And how many buddies do I need to have? 2 buddies. So those 2 buddies get to come outside. They come outside as that number 2 right there. I had a 4, so now I multiply it by 2, so now that becomes 8. I only have this little guy left under the radical. These 2 buddies came out over here. This guy has to stay because he doesn't have a buddy. So I couldn't leave it as 4 times the square root of 8 because that is not in simplest form. That would be like leaving a fraction as 4/6. That's not in simplest form. That would become 2/3. Okay? So not simplifying radicals is the same as not simplifying square roots. Hang on. It's only 12:01. Where are y'all going?
I'm just ignoring me. Everybody else is doing it.
Thank you. Okay.
You're a follower.
So, listen up. On Monday, we will pick back up with lesson 23. Okay, so we'll pick back up on this. On Monday, we're going to be finishing up our dividing radicals, and we're moving on to multiplying radicals. Okay? And then, depending on time, we may get to radical expressions as well.
Oh, no.
Ideally, for us to be able to finish what we need to finish for the year, Ideally, we need to cover 5 sections a week. We only got 1 done today. Okay, so this week we kind of used as reviewing our sections. So that means that we're going to have to speed up with some other things. What is due Monday?
Oh, that's
right. The packet, how is it due? Uploaded. What is your homework? Page 50. How are you going to do that homework on what type of paper? Okay, some type of lined notebook paper, graph paper, some kind of paper. When is that due? Not until the Monday after we return to co-op. Bring it to co-op. Do not wait until then to do your homework. Yes.
Got me mad.
Good. Very good.
Put on your mask.
Okay, if anybody would like to write tables, you're welcome.
Oh, wait, no, it's right
Do not go until the bell rings. Give me one. Thank you.